Keanu Reeves, a highly respected individual. Hollywood actors discreetly made their way into. For him, it was a high-end car dealership. Simply another day, yet what was poised to unfold. If it happened, everything would be altered and the time would be different. His true nature was revealed. The repercussions would exceed. Remarkably surprising, they would find it. Unforgettable. Let's proceed before we move forward. Tell us about your viewing location. If you appreciate tales such as this, join the channel by subscribing because we've got another unique tale in store for you tomorrow. For you, it was just another ordinary morning in Los Angeles. Angels beneath a boundless blue sky, extending like a summons for an extraordinary occasion. Keanu Reeves strolled through the streets with discretion. Clad in his black leather jacket and tattered, his composed demeanor stood in stark contrast to the jeans. The approving gazes of a select few who, upon recognizing him, it became clear he had perpetually been the same individual who perpetually held onto the allure of fame. He tilted his head and gave a friendly wave with a simple smile. A fan expressed gratitude here, while offering praise elsewhere, and proceeded on his journey at a leisurely pace. Halfway through his journey, he paused at the cafe, a regular haunt for him for years, addressed the barista by name, just as he habitually did. "Good morning, Oliver, how's it going?" "Things are progressing smoothly, Keanu, as always." While he waited for his coffee, he politely requested. His thoughts drifted, a sense of something lingering there. Had been on the hunt for throughout the preceding few. For months, it was more than just a fleeting whim, but a concept that merged his passion for vehicles fueled by his desire to make a difference. Possibly a vehicle of significance, perhaps uncommon. Something he could repair and utilize for a worthy cause. Could be something like a donation or perhaps a special acknowledgement, coffee in hand. He continued his travels. There was a establishment renowned for its high-end and exclusive automobiles it provided. That's where he anticipated discovering what he was searching for as he crossed the threshold. The dealership's glass doors stood before Keanu. Was met with an ambience that emanated. The wealth shimmered on the floor, its reflection gleaming. Impeccably finished automobiles on exhibition. The thud of footsteps was dampened by soft carpeting, and the atmosphere held the distinctly fresh aroma of newly tanned leather. Neatly attired employees traversed through the showroom, catering to clients dressed in high-end suits and refined. Keanu's accessories reflected his simple style, almost unobserved, with only a handful of curious individuals noticing. Eyes shifted towards him, subsequently followed by. He disregarded the quiet murmurs, letting them fade into silence, and centered his attention on what was truly important to him. Gazing intently at a car in the rear, an uncommon sight, a model that appeared out of place. Every single detail captivated his focus. The gracefully curving lines, flawlessly rendered. His paintwork exuded an air of exclusivity. Determined, Keanu approached resolute, a salesperson engrossed in their phone. "I apologize, but could you provide me with additional information about?" he requested, his voice steady and composed. With a polite glance, the salesman looked up briefly. A moment of meager interest lingered. He responded, "I'll have someone handle it," departing without a backward glance. Keanu observed the man depart. He retained his expression serene, yet a hint of something within him. A subtle crease formed between his brows. Barely noticeable, implied. He was starting to find the situation troubling. Despite this, he remained in his place, continuing his studies. The specifics of the car which had. He was enthralled, all the while the atmosphere around him appeared to be turning increasingly antagonistic. Not via immediate actions, but through the glances and murmured conversations shared among. Does he even have an understanding of his employees' locations? One of them whispered, "Doesn't appear to be." As if he were purchasing anything at all here. Keanu acknowledged their words, but feigned ignorance. He absent-mindedly rubbed his chin, a slight gesture. A gesture that concealed his unease. He chose to withhold a response for now, remaining steadfast. He remained by the car, awaiting a reply. It was then that he spotted someone. As he drew closer, it was the manager, striding with a rigid gait and assessing the unease with a discerning gaze. The discomfort in the air grew heavy, as if each breath was becoming more dense. The actions of managers carried a significant burden. The manager's deliberation finally reached its conclusion. Facing Keanu, he glanced at the car, with the man observing it subtly. This model is exceptionally unique and uncommon, a true smile-inducing rarity. The manager stated, his voice taking on a more akin to a test than an. That's precisely what I meant. Looking for Keanu, he stated, his voice unwavering. Despite maintaining politeness, the manager evaluated. Once again, he scrutinized her from the top of her head to the tips of her toes. His eyes held a blend of uncertainty and contempt. All right, are you prepared? This car isn't. Keanu maintained his stare, fixed on just any passerby. Without uttering a word, he simply offered a near-silent smile. Subtly, yet his gaze remained unwavering. They refused to yield. The manager persisted in. Retreating, he crossed his arms, as if to say, what? What I understood was that Keanu was significantly more than simply any man standing in their presence. Was more than just a casual customer. They were one of the world's most celebrated actors, renowned not only for his abilities, but also for his unwavering ethical standards and modest demeanor when the truth regarding him was revealed. The repercussions would be nothing short of astounding. They ought to be. The unforgettable Keanu persisted alongside the uncommon, meticulously examining its intricacies. The car, the bodywork's texture is flawlessly executed. The gleam of the paint and the timeless elegance. The design evoked genuine admiration. For him, it was precisely what he had been searching for. But nonetheless, the atmosphere surrounding him appeared incongruous with the occasion. Steps aimed at him and murmured remarks fostered a burgeoning feeling of uneasiness. A short while after that day, at last, Richard was met by the manager, a man maintaining a stiff stance and a piercing stare, advanced towards him with resolute strides as, although each action was meticulously planned to establish his position, he halted a few steps away, with Keanu crossing his arms and exhibiting a smile that seemed more more inclined towards provocation than kindness interested in. Richard, in a nearly commanding tone, inquired using this model. Teasingly, yes, it's a remarkable car ride. Keanu expressed a desire to learn more. Keeping his composure, Richard looked at him intently, still clinging to his worn-out denim. He lifted an eyebrow, his gaze fixed on the worn leather jacket. Clearly astonished by the sheer boldness of this man entered, dressed in such a manner. Intriguing, he murmured, his voice infused with sarcasm, this is certainly one of ours. The most sought-after models are owned by a select few. Even have the opportunity to witness one of these, let alone. Keanu remained resolute, yet the atmosphere crackled with tension. The air was thick with a tangible presence. Richard subtly shifted his position to the side. Should Keanu be prevented from obtaining any? As you get nearer to the car, you'll understand. This vehicle's price tag exceeds the value of certain houses. Beverly Hills, that's not exactly. Not just anyone is eligible to take Richard home. He went on, his voice. Keenly observant, Keanu furrowed his brow slightly, yet maintained. His tone was polite, which I recognize, and that's why. Could you please provide more information for those who are interested? Regarding the matter, he persisted in attempting to disregard it. Richard witnessed the manager's aggressive demeanor. A mirthless chuckle, a sound conveying more. Instead of laughter, disdain flickered in his eyes as he crossed his arms. Once more, I peered forward, inclining my head slightly. I'm struggling to express this in a more straightforward way. However, models like these appeal to a specific type of the sort of customers who comprehend. What you're purchasing, you're aware of, and with all due regard, you don't appear to be. To accommodate Keanu inhaled deeply, attempting to subdue the unease that had settled in, starting to transform into something more akin to toward. Fueled by anger, he cocked his head to the side, as if seeking confirmation that he had heard. He profiled accurately, his tone neutral. Richard highlighted the importance of our vehicles in his profile. Are more than just vehicles, they're emblems of achievement, prosperity, uniqueness items that, regrettably, there appears to be limited alignment. With that, he stated while gesturing, in a dramatic fashion directed at Keanu's. Cloaking the silence that ensued was overwhelmingly loud. The noise caused some employees to halt their work. They were intent on observing the unfolding events. Others feigned ignorance, as if they hadn't heard. Keanu was slow to reply. He gazed intently at Richard for an extended period of time as, despite meticulously measuring his. It's intriguing how you appear to possess such knowledge. You can learn a lot about people simply by observing what they do. Clothing that reveals more about you than words ever could. Finally, Keanu shed some light on the subject of himself. His voice remained composed, yet carried an undercurrent of resoluteness. Richard squinted his eyes distinctly, enraged by the reply. He took a step, getting too close to Keanu's personal boundaries. Softening his voice gently, though the sharp, critical tone persisted. Listen here, friend. I encounter individuals similar to you frequently. Step inside, take a look at the automobiles, and let your imagination soar. And subsequently depart without making any purchases. If you're looking to engage in make-believe, I'll inquire. I won't tolerate any further waste of my time, or my team observed Keanu, but he remained motionless. Her stance now held a new meaning. It had evolved beyond mere patience now. A steadfast resolve in his gaze, and he wondered aloud, what if I'm absent from the realm of dreams? Merely, Richard chuckled softly and shook his head, as if pondering the question. If you think that's absurd, I'd have to say you're mistaken. This location is designated for human occupancy, who is capable of compensating individuals possessing something valuable. Demonstrate and truthfully you don't resemble. They are either surrounded by air, appear to become more burdensome. Ruthlessly, Keanu glared at Richard for in just a few more seconds, his unease will reach its peak. Evolved into something more profound nearly. With a controlled anger, he uttered a barely perceptible grin, not belonging to joy, but to another individual who had completely grasped the nature of the individual I always considered a humorous. The true luxury resided in treating individuals with. Perhaps you ought to consider respect. That Keanu spoke in a calm voice but unwavering. Keanu stood firm before the manager Richard, now visibly enraged, and disdain permeated every utterance, intensifying the tension. The tension in the room was thick and heavy. Those working there and customers in the vicinity couldn't know. They could no longer conceal the fact that they were observing. Richard's aggressive demeanor sparked a confrontation, intensified, as if victory were essential to him. This assertion to reassert his dominance. Individuals like yourself frequent this place solely for the purpose of dissipation. Richard stated, everyone's time, in his voice. Saturated with sarcasm, this isn't a. Take a walk through the park, and you'll find. Certainly not a haven for those with dreams of faded jackets and pockets devoid of contents. Keanu. He cocked his head, thoughtfully observing the man standing before him, exuding a calm demeanor, but with an intense stare, he inhaled deeply. Before responding, he thoughtfully selected his. You find humor in discussing the concept of wasting time. When your focus is so intently on judging others by their attire as a reflection of self, rather than their true essence. Perhaps you ought to contemplate what truly. He stated, his voice unwavering, but determined. Richard squinted his face, now reddened with irritation. He advanced, encroaching upon Keanu's personal space. Oh, I completely understand what. He abruptly stated his point, his voice sharp with venom, and it's undeniably unethical. Insights from an individual who believes they are entitled to enter here as if you're unsure of your identity, you might not know who you belong to. Interacting with Keanu, he remained composed. He didn't flinch. His eyes met Richard's, their gazes held firm. This only intensified the manager's anger upon discovering his words were ineffective. Richard's control was utterly lost. "I won't be told what to do," Richard yelled, his fist raised in a fit of impulsiveness. Try to frighten Keanu, or maybe. Even the thought of hitting him crossed her mind, but Keanu responded quickly, yet with the calm demeanor of someone used to high-pressure situations. He grasped his hand and seized Richard's clenched fist. In the air, the movement was resolute yet gentle, a forceful display of self-control. Revenge for a fleeting instant time appeared too. Richard stood frozen, utterly stunned by. His strike had been effortlessly deflected. A hush fell over the entire showroom, every eye focused intently on the developing events. Keanu met Richard's gaze directly, his expression now imbued with greater significance. While he didn't seem angry, there was a distinct, an almost unervingly powerful tone in his voice. When his words expressed the anger you're experiencing isn't my concern, perhaps it's time for introspection and addressing those internal matters. Prior to unleashing on, he then loosened his grip on Richard's fist, the same composed manner in which he had. As a manager pulled back, the action ceased. Clearly rattled, but he made an effort to conceal his stiffness and insecurity embodied in Kino's posture. He rearranged his jacket and took a step back, glanced subtly, and gave one final glance at. Respect from Richard doesn't require any expense, but for certain individuals, it appears more challenging to locate. More impressive than any vehicle here without. As he awaited a reply, Keanu turned, started heading for the exit. The showroom was hushed, except for the distinct thud of his purposeful strides on the shining floors, visible to all the employees, and customers remained motionless, caught in a state of stunned silence, clutching their breath as if incapable of trust what they had just seen. Suddenly, something piqued Keanu's interest. A young male positioned himself in a secluded corner of the dealership, was displaying his phone, had been documenting not only the concluding interaction, though seemingly the whole. For a fleeting instant, Keanu halted, meeting the gaze of the young man who, he appeared nervous yet resolute, offered Keanu a slight nod, a sign of subdued solidarity. Keanu replied with a barely noticeable smile flickered across her lips beforehand, exiting through the glass doors, vanishing into the expanse of Los Angeles. Sunlight illuminating the dealership. Richard found it difficult to regain his composure, but the stillness surrounding him and the condemning the gazes of her co-workers made it. It was evident that something had altered. The footage captured by the young man wouldn't remain concealed for an extended period, and when the globe witnessed the events that unfolded in that showroom, the repercussions would be utterly catastrophic, as their occurrence was unavoidable by then. By morning, the world was already aware of the narrative. Footage captured at the dealership showed has been shared on social media by teenagers. The man who had discreetly recorded. Within just a few hours, the video footage spread, widely disseminated by countless individuals, enraged by the way Keanu Reeves was treated. The contrast was immediately apparent. A man, widely celebrated for his unassuming nature, embarrassed by someone so condescending. The video commenced with Richard disregarding Keanu and engaging in disrespectful behavior, but the turning point was undeniably clear. Instance where the manager tried to attack Keanu, but he effortlessly dodged it. With a disconcerting serenity, Keanu delivered his line. Appreciation doesn't require any expense, but it appears to be more uncommon than any vehicle present here immediately. gained widespread popularity through appearances on meme posts and even within newspaper publications. Online headlines sparked a flurry of comments. How can anyone be so cruel to Keanu Reeves in this manner? He's truly one of the gentlest and most compassionate men in. That Hollywood manager undoubtedly believes. He's unparalleled. What a shame, too. Keanu, as usual, is managing the dealership. Individuals characterized by an air of supreme arrogance, possessing undeniable grace. This ought to serve as a cautionary tale, a lesson to be forever remembered. Never undervalue individuals, irrespective of their apparent qualities. They emerge. Enjoyment websites and media sources swiftly grasp the narrative it wasn't, regarding the matter of disrespecting a customer, but among the most acclaimed actors in the public's understanding of the world is not merely supported Keanu while also expressing disapproval of exclusive and prejudiced behaviors in opulent settings such as that. Automotive Haven At the Automotive Haven, the fallout was swift and utterly destructive. The company's social media profiles were overwhelmed by a deluge of negative remarks requesting clarifications and regrets. Critique arrived from every corner of the globe, with individuals proclaiming boycotts and urging for the managing directors. Richard sought to provide a rationale for his dismissal. His deeds, yet every utterance he offered, appeared to exacerbate the situation. The explanations were filled with meaningless content, offered justifications, and displayed no sincere regret. It was all a case of mistaken identity. Failed to instantly recognize Mr. Reeves. And my actions were. The public's reception was misunderstood. They weren't interested. If the shared fury was. Invincible dealership employees, worried about losing their positions, they started speaking in an anonymous statement to the media, confirming that Richard's actions weren't anything unfamiliar. He'd constantly treated individuals in that manner. Their financial status was irrelevant. He believed himself superior to all others. One worker disclosed that this action only intensified the blaze of public outrage. The dealership experienced a substantial decline in its customer base and experienced a sharp decline in sales, leaving no one unscathed. Desired to be linked to a location bearing such a sullied reputation. As the world was abuzz with the event, Keanu kept quiet. He'd never before experienced one driven by a desire for retribution or to exacerbate existing disputes at a home enveloped by simplicity's embrace. He constantly pondered his own definition, reflecting on what shaped him. Given what had transpired, he understood the circumstances wasn't singular, prejudice founded on visual presentation, societal standing, or economic standing. The situation was widespread, and he was determined to prevent this experience from becoming simply another standalone occurrence. Keanu chose to pursue a meaningful endeavor, disclosed his ideas to a trusted confidant. The footage is circulating, and people are responding, but I'm hoping this doesn't have to conclude. Another controversy I'm eager to tackle. Something that genuinely sparks transformation. And what are your plans, friend? Keanu responded, let me take care of it my way. With a subtle yet resolute smile, he was aware that a return trip to the dealership was necessary. Not to seek revenge, but to transform the situation into a compelling force. After ending the call, he learned a valuable lesson. He reconsidered the car once more. Desired it remained in his thoughts as a embodiment of his potential transformation. He contemplated the necessity of returning, the question lingering in his mind. Hanging heavy in the air was the question of what he would do. What he did upon his return days later, the video, remained a dominant force on social media, and Keanu Reeves' name continued to be prominent in headlines. A popular subject, but he has consistently remained away from the public eye and deliberately avoided. Despite issuing public statements, he was aware the narrative couldn't conclude without a substantive resolution. That afternoon, Keanu made his way back at the same dealership, There was an absence of any celebratory commotion. Regarding his visit, there were no security measures or surveillance cameras in place. Trailing behind him, it was just him and his composed demeanor. Serene demeanor, but with a new element this time. Transformed everyone at the dealership. He had absolute clarity about his identity, leaving his employees petrified. The instant he crossed the threshold, some seemed anxious, while others felt embarrassed. The manager, Richard, positioned himself behind A. His face, visibly strained, was ashen, and his previously assured bearing had now become reluctant. The car lot, once vibrant and active with, the activity appeared strikingly vacant, a stark emptiness, a testament to the immense boycott it had engendered. Approaching the car, Kino made his way over to it. When he first noticed it, he placed. His fingers traced the contours of the body. Over the expanse, as he'd done previously, examining its intricacies, but this instance the tension wasn't emanating from the vehicle itself, but rather from. In the room, he was acutely aware of Richard's unwavering gaze. His eyes met hers, filled with terror and apprehension. Hidden sorrow. Richard finally summoned the nerve to engage him despite his air of utterly unlike previous days. He appeared diminished, almost resigned to defeat. Mr. Richard Reeves started speaking in a soft, low tone, and I wish to express my regret for my previous actions. I believe we started off on the incorrect foot, and I'm optimistic we can begin anew. Maybe I could let you see the car that. Keanu, having caught your attention, turned gradually. Meeting Richard's gaze, the manager. He struggled to maintain his composure, unable to bear the intensity of the stare. For a fresh start, Kino, he said, his voice laced with a hint of determination. Serene yet intense. I'm not certain you grasp the issue, though the difficulty lies in the way you treated me is a reflection of how you treat every individual with respect, Richard. He tried to speak, but no words emerged. Keanu retreated a step, his grip remaining firm. His look of admiration shouldn't be something you negotiate with what you set aside, reserved exclusively for those you consider deserving. Essentially, it's a matter of having it or not having it, Keanu stated, his voice conveying don't. Throughout the room, Richard attempted a response, but Keanu interrupted, his hand subtly indicating that I arrived with the intention of listening. Something unique, something extraordinary that possessed. The significance to me, however, what I discovered was something that is irreparable. That's the reason for my apology, so I'll be refraining from purchase. This vehicle is not of this origin. At the dealership, the gravity of his statement was. Richard appeared to diminish under the weight of the crushing force. Additionally, as Keanu addressed the employees and surrounding customers were utterly motionless. Silence enveloped every utterance Keanu made. A move towards the exit, yet prior to, as he departed, he glanced back at Richard, saying, I hope this serves as a valuable learning experience, not only for your benefit. However, for all of us gathered here, genuine luxury isn't a luxury vehicle or a hefty price tag. True luxury lies in treating everyone with respect. And that, regrettably, appears to be less common than any system you possess within this. With those words, Keanu made his way to the showroom, exiting the dealership, leaving behind a profound silence lingered in his absence, days stretching on after. Despite the incident, the video persisted, spread, but now individuals were not merely discussing the events of. At the dealership, a conversation was underway about how Keanu had altered a moment of transformed disrespect into a learning experience that exceeded the occasion. Once more he had embodied humility and understated grace. Keanu acquired the car at a humble car dealership that focused on people first, prioritizing connection over display of wealth. The owner, a middle-aged man called Sam, was renowned for providing equal treatment to all customers, regardless of the identities of those present when IU arrived. Upon entering the shop, He was met with a warm and sincere smile. "Hello, Sam. What can I do for you? I'm searching for something unique. A vehicle symbolizing a larger purpose. I think you can assist me," Ku replied. The interaction was cordial, devoid of judgment, in the final analysis, Keanu discovered the car overcome by prejudice. He searched for something and then captured it in a photograph. Sam and his colleagues shared it publicly. Social media, characterized by its simplicity yet profound impact, captioned "True luxury is experiencing exceptional treatment. Thank you for the kind reminder." The post experienced another wave of viral popularity, emphasizing the significance of the new dealership as an illustration of exemplary customer service practices. People surged to the shop, attracted by the concept of a location embodying dignity. Initially, Keanu's action ignited a worldwide phenomenon. Individuals started sharing personal experiences, tales of bias, prejudice, and discrimination, and resilience is a key theme in countless promotional efforts. The concepts of respect and inclusion came to the forefront, prompting businesses to reconsider their usage and conduct related hashtags like "respect earned through hash is a privilege" and "hashlearn embodies that." Keanu's presence took over social media. Stars, activists, and companies came together, the movement leveraging the moment as a chance for contemplation, even a luxury. Automakers began incorporating more encompassing stories apprehensive of the type of reputational crisis which has occurred at the dealership in question. In the meantime, at the dealership where everything began, continued to grapple with the following certain repercussions. Richard was dismissed from his position after an wave of criticism and the detriment of many customers. The dealership experienced a reorganization, but the harm its reputation had already established itself. Following the incident, it served as a warning. In the realm of business, a striking contrast exists, a reminder emphasizing the significance of respect. He insisted it was never meant to be about him. He'd say, with his characteristic modesty, that "this isn't about my identity or my actions are not the focus here. This is about we should show each other respect. It varies depending on your identity and your financial standing. Possess or what is yours. It's a fundamental right that belongs to all individuals." Is owed an answer when inquired about his newfound knowledge. Keanu's smile radiated from the experience. Just prior to responding, "I have acquired some knowledge that even challenging times can be. Chances for transformation, respect doesn't. Has no price, yet when we offer it, we generate something capable of transforming the car Keanu bought became a global phenomenon. The symbol was brought back to its former glory and then sold at auction. At a fundraising gala, generating millions of funds for initiatives that supported equity and belonging throughout the occasion. Keanu gave a brief, but this car's speech was truly remarkable. The object remained unknown until the events of this narrative came to light. It holds something infinitely more precious: the understanding that each of us possesses the ability to lead the way in inspiring change, as long as we follow our guiding principles. With respect, the evening concluded with cheers not only for Keanu, but also for the message he had disclosed to the globe. An event that originated from prejudice and disrespect had evolved into a narrative of metamorphosis and motivation. Keanu demonstrated that even when confronted with, despite injustice, it is possible to act with honor and transform negativity into a positive. Shift occurred, and the world continued its progress. But the lesson remained, even in the simplest of moments, respect is what holds the most weight. Shapes us. If you like this narrative, there are plenty more that will surely touch your heart. Tap the screen to discover additional narratives of empathy, kindness, and strength.